that was really disheartening and I had not been through before. And it was a shaming experience from the dealership towards me. Hi everyone, it's Deb from Deb's RV Services and welcome to today's video. This is a re-recording of something that I tried to record last week, but the audio was terrible. So I bought another device that I could try out. This is the Rode brand, and this is a quality brand, and I'm trying this out, and I think it's going to sound much better. But I did not want to. I know audio is super important in these videos, and so I did not want to publish that one. The information that I'm giving you is just too important for you to focus on stupid audio noise. So anyway, let's get into it. I want to tell you about 3 situations. One is really bad. The other one is still a bad experience, but the third one is a good, positive experience. So I kind of wanted to give you a picture of all 3 of these experiences so that you could understand the importance of talking to your dealership when you want to get an RV inspection and making sure that they have everything ready for us as RV inspectors and for you as the client so that you get what you need from us. The first experience was a client contacted me and wanted me to inspect a brand new RV. And I went out there, he contacted the dealership, he gave them the list of requirements, everything that needed to be ready, which I always give with my contract. I tell my client, these are the things that need to be ready for me when I arrive at the dealership. I need it hooked up to electric. I need water in the tank. I need propane added if it comes with propane. I need all these things because I can't test any of the equipment in the RV if I don't have it hooked up to electric. I want to see how it looks with electric and without electric. I want to make sure that those batteries hold a charge. I want to make sure that the converter works. There's reasons why we need all these things here. And then the water, if we can't test the water systems, we can't see if there's leaks. So I need water in the tank at least. We like to have city connection as well, but if I can't get city connection, I at least want water in the tank. Okay, so let's get back to this client. He hired me to come out, inspect this RV. I arrive and, let me back up just a minute. What I do typically is I have the client contact the person that they're in contact with, whether it's a salesperson or whatever. They give them the list of requirements. They follow up with them. Then they give me a contact person that I can follow up with. So this client gave me a contact person. I called that person and they were no longer there with the company. They moved to a different location. So they gave me a new person to contact. I contacted them and they said that the RV would be completely ready. So I arrived the next day and the RV is not ready. And that person that I spoke with was not there. So they scrambled around. It took them an hour to get the RV. I told them what I need. I need to have water in the tank. I need to have propane. I need to have it hooked up to electric. Oh yes, we're going to get everything ready for you. As it's moving over into its location, I notice water coming out the bottom. So I tell the salesperson, I say, I see water coming out the bottom. It looks like the low point drain valve is open. And he says, no, that's just an overflow valve. So I said, okay. He parked it and I went up and I started doing my work there and I was going around and sure enough, there was no water. So I couldn't test the water. Also, this RV they obviously didn't do their PDI, which is extremely important to me as an inspector because if they can do their pre-delivery inspection, that's what a PDI is, then they can make sure that the battery is in good working condition. They can make sure that everything is ready for me as an inspector and it works at least semi-correct. I like to go in after that because a lot of times when I show up and they haven't done their pre-delivery inspection, I go in and there's dead batteries or there's water heaters, which I experienced in a different video or in a different experience in the second one I'm going to tell you about. The water heater wasn't ready for me. The anode rod wasn't even in it. This is why I need that done because I can make sure that everything is ready to go. The bypass valves are in the correct position so that I can test the water heater. There's a whole list of things. Okay, so while I'm inspecting this, I try to put up a tripod so that I can record things. And I had somebody come over and tell me I needed to move my tripod because they needed that space. Fine, I moved the tripod. Then I face plant my phone twice because it's on a hump of a hill and anyway, I needed to get a new phone, and that was a whole other issue. So I didn't have the best experience at the dealership as far as the people there being accommodating me as an inspector. So I just do my thing and I leave, but I didn't want to ask them to add water to the tank again because they were already, I could tell that they were busy. They were stressed. They knew I needed water. The water was coming out the bottom. Then they told me that I was wrong and that it was the overflow valve, and it wasn't. So at that point, I had already wasted so much time trying to get this inspection done. I just wrote it up as unable to inspect. This didn't make my client very happy. So I finished the inspection. I call my client. I tell him everything that happened, what was not ready, and how there were things in the RV that were, curtains falling off on the floor. I know it got jostled in the move from where it came from, but still, it didn't even get looked at by the dealership. So now let's go to the part that's really, that was really disheartening and I had not been through before. And it was a shaming experience from the dealership towards me. So I finished the inspection. I give my report to the client. I always point out things that I couldn't work or that were not available for me. And I also test everything to make sure that there are I want the life safety equipment tested. So what I do is I check the breakaway switch. So on a travel trailer, you have a breakaway switch. Travel trailers and fifth wheels have this. I put my amp clamp around the wire and I make sure that there's an amp draw as I pull that emergency switch out. That's how I can test to make sure that my clients are safe on the road. When I did the report, my head scrambled and said volts instead of amps. It's a very easy error to make because most of the time I'm talking about volts, 12 volt systems in an RV, and I'm always talking about volts. So this is the one situation where I talk about amps, and I just typed volts instead of amps. It was just a mistake. Well, I had somebody reach out on it was on a Facebook group page, and it was put out there that an inspector didn't know what they were doing and showed the picture of my report showing that I put volts instead of amps and tried to shame me and laugh at me on Facebook. And I found it because this person put it on our own inspector page. Then I looked at the group that was an RV tech group and saw my name on it. I was completely embarrassed and I thought, what did I do wrong? And I was looking at it like really worried that I did something terrible. And I look and it was just me saying the word volts instead of amps. And then I had pointed out that this tankless water heater control panel did not turn on. And they made fun of me for that I don't know why. But anyway, the whole thing is that what I saw was when I looked at the person that posted it, it was a manager at Camping World. And I thought, wow, how unprofessional can you be to take an inspector's work and post it on social media so that you can get attention and laughs at the expense of me, and you're a manager. So I reached out to my client and I told my client this. My client was not happy and he was not a person to mess with. He contacted the company. He went all the way up to the VP level and he told them, listen, do you want to play social media games? Because I can do that. He had connections with other people where he threatened to do a documentary on Camping World. It didn't need to go to that level, but they tried to make it right with him and they scrambled and told him that, they promised that they would address this with the employee. They're very sorry, blah, 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 blah. And he told them he was taking me back out to the dealership to find everything that they were supposed to fix and make sure that it was fixed correctly. So I arrived with my client. We went through the RV. And the thing is we still waited an hour. Another hour at the dealership. They still didn't have it ready. I know they're busy. I get it. But still, My client wasn't happy about that. I went through and I did some checks and made sure that the items that I had on my report were corrected and that I was able to test the water. But to be honest, the tech was there on the scene correcting as we were doing the inspection. They didn't have it corrected. They didn't have it done. And the whole thing with the tankless water heater, it was wired incorrectly. So I was made fun of for something that didn't work correctly, and it didn't work correctly because it was miswired. So the whole experience was an eye-opener for me. And I think that in the future, one of the things that I would like to make sure that my clients do is to contact a service manager as well as their salesperson to make sure that they get the information on what needs to be in place prior to the inspection and what needs to happen during that time. Because otherwise, when I show up, it takes the job and it doubles it. And then my client's unhappy because they end up with a report where a lot of things weren't able to get tested. Second experience. This is a client that was out of state. He is from Tennessee and he wanted me to inspect an RV in Colorado. It was an older motorhome. So I gave him the list of requirements. He spoke to his salesperson. The salesperson assured him over and over again that this RV was going to be ready for me. I show up. The RV is not ready for me. In fact, it's sitting in front of a text bay. It is not hooked up to 50 amp. They were just working on the generator, and the tech told me that none of the stuff it's not even ready to be inspected. And they tried to make a comment to their manager that it's not ready for an inspection, but they had me do it anyway. They didn't say anything to the client that it wasn't ready. I am happy to show up when it's actually ready. They can wait. I know my client needed this RV at a certain time frame, so he wanted it, but the whole thing is if it's not ready for me and the client's paying me like $1,000 or whatever the rate is, that's not fair to my client that it's not ready. Not only was it not ready, they couldn't even get the chassis battery started because it needed to be jumped. So I got an hour into the job and I called my client and said, listen, this thing is not even close to being ready. The water heater had no anode rod in it. It was, the electrical component was bad. So they were waiting on parts. So they couldn't have it ready for me. They were waiting on parts. So I talked to my client. I said, listen, all you have to do is pay me for the travel fee, the 1 hour time frame that I was here, and I will come back when it's ready. Okay. So we rescheduled it for the following week. I came back out. The salesperson told my client, oh, it's ready. It's completely ready. I show up. It is not ready. All the same parts are still on order. They're still waiting. Now, they did add propane to it, but I waited an hour at the dealership, which I don't like to do. That's not the way it's supposed to flow. I waited an hour and then I go in, they drive it inside for me. They hook it up to 50 amp. They tried to hook it up to water and water just splashed everywhere because they were waiting on another part for the connection to the water that was not there. And so it was spraying all over the place. And I looked at what I could, but there were a lot of things that weren't ready for me. And I found a lot of things on this RV that were kind of red flags for my client. But anyway, I contacted him and I told him they still weren't ready for me. They didn't have what they needed. And he was not happy, but I feel like he did ultimately make the decision to not get the RV, which I think was a good choice on his part, because even if they were to have these things ready, there were some red flags about this RV. There were water stains and some rot in the slides that I saw. And there were a lot of things like the tech had said something to me, like the ceiling was falling down while we had to put that back up. And I thought, that's interesting. So I really was paying special attention to the ceiling, and I just saw little parts around the trim of where the sidewall meets the ceiling at the slide level. And you just saw like little areas of concern where there could have been some water intrusion. There's all these little signs that I find that lead me when I'm really trying to search out water intrusion. I look for all types of signs. And even on the roof of this, the roof had sealant issues and holes and cracks, and it could have had water intrusion for sure. So I'm glad that my client did not purchase this. But then again, this is a situation where I really want to let people know the importance of making sure that they have the list of requirements in their hand and it is ready to go for the inspector. And I would say, move it up to a level and give it to the service manager. Contact the service manager, not only the dealership salesperson. I don't think sales talks to service. And so if you can contact a manager at service and say, this is what the inspector needs, can you make sure that it's ready to go? And then you confirm with them the day before. I don't even mind contacting them the day before, but I think the customer just has a better influence on them. I'm happy to do it, but I think that the customer needs to make sure that because this is their sale, this is their deal, and they want to try to make the customer happy. So I think that them contacting and going above and beyond just a salesperson can maybe help get a smoother transition for the inspection. So, okay, that was the second bad experience. And then I have a positive ending to this. I had another woman that contacted me that wanted me to inspect a brand new Brinkley. She was in contact with me months before the delivery of the Brinkley. She sent full emails to me, full emails to her contact at the dealership, which was Bish's RV in Cheyenne, Wyoming, which I will give a shout out to them. They were wonderful. And it was a breath of fresh air to go to this dealership and have this wonderful experience. Because when I arrived, this RV was ready at 9 a.m. They were happy to walk me out there. It was on a level surface. The slides were out. All 3 air conditioners were on. It was hooked to 50 amp. It had water in the tank. I had access to everything I needed. I had the smoothest experience doing an inspection that I've had in a long time. I really appreciated them and I told them so. This is how it should be. I know that it's easier with a new RV, but it should at least be prepared and ready with the used RV as well. If you give a dealership enough ample time and you work with them and say, this is when we need the inspection, can you be ready for this? And they say, yes, we can be ready for this. And they have their list of requirements. I don't know why it's not ready. We need to work together here. Okay. Because this is ultimately for the customer, for the client, for the good experience that they want for their RV. They don't need that stress. And if you want if dealerships really want to have good customer satisfaction, then it needs to start right from the beginning. Get the pre-delivery inspection done. Have the RV, the third-party inspector out, have everything ready for them. Then if there are some minor things that need to be fixed, then get them fixed. And then the customer can go sign the paperwork and take their new RV and have the adventure and camping experience that they want. This is what it's all about. It's their experience. I just wanted to give you these 3 experiences and let you know the importance of having the dealership ready for the RV inspector. And just know that it's important to talk to the dealership, make sure that they have this RV ready for you. And that if they don't, and if they give you a hard time, this is a red flag. We need to make sure that these dealerships are doing their part. They're trying to help the client and they're trying to provide good customer service. And that's what I want to do for my client too. I want to go out there and be able to inspect everything for you. Let me know your experience with an RV dealership. Did you have a good experience with an RV inspector if you had one? Did they have everything ready for your inspector? And if you didn't get an inspection, did you have a smooth experience when you took your RV off the lot and was everything good to go and fixed and working as it should? I hope you enjoyed today's video. I will see you on the next one. And listen, don't forget, I have a newsletter the July one has just gone out. This is my second newsletter. And I want you to subscribe to my newsletter if you haven't. It gives you a little bit of insight on what I'm doing personally, where I'm at, and I also give you some free tips. Then you can also download a free PDF of doing an inspection and having an inspection checklist. So go ahead and go to my website, debsrvservices.net, scroll to the bottom, and subscribe to my newsletter. I will see you on the next video. Thank you.